The Supreme Court of India has said that they will not immediately look into the listing of plea against internet suspension. Supreme Court has said High Court is seized of the matter. Supreme Court has said that what is the need to duplicate the proceedings? Let it come before the regular bench. Mr. Azad, internet remains suspended in Manipur. Internet is not a it's not a right to Google. It's delivery, it's information, it's empowerment, it's commodity movement, it is lot more things. That's one, you can start from there. And secondly, if you look at, I want your broader view on the conversation which has taken place. I want your larger overview of the conversation itself which has taken place on our platform, sir.
In fact, I was just going to talk about that we have to look into the larger issue, because I've heard the experts and each one of them is very, very convincing on their own arguments. I mean, I've heard Dr. Guite and I agree with her that we can't only blame the SSO militants. I mean, there are too many factors here which are involved. As far as the internet is concerned, I would certainly say that internet is the right of free speech. Internet is a medium of exchange. So can you stop people from talking to each other? I mean, in areas where the curfew has been, lifted for periods and people are mixing, aren't they talking to each other? So, if you look at it that way, it is virtually a fundamental right of somebody like me trying to communicate with either, Dr. Ramesh or Dr. Guite. So in that respect, to close down internet for such long period is a very harsh measure. Now, I can understand if there is a threat to the state, if it's a case of an imminent breakdown of law and order. So in that period when the curfew was immediately imposed and things were happening, killings were taking place, the internet shutdown may have been necessary. But, if you look at the Puttaswamy judgment, it talks about three things. You resort to a state control only when nothing else is possible, number one. Number two, there has to be a legal way of doing it. And number three is proportionality, that it should be only of that duration where it's strictly required. So in that respect, I would say certainly High Court should look into it, get the state representatives and let them prove that it is, if they don't close the internet, everything will break down in Manipur, which I don't think so. It is difficult to prove. That's the part of the internet. Now, the second part which I want to get into is, see, if we are talking about the solution to Manipur, I've heard the three experts, it will take a separate discussion. And it will be a fairly long discussion because there are so many arguments which are there from all sides. But right now, I would agree with some of the panelists that it is time to bring peace. Now, how do you bring peace? There are two ways. One is the immediate law and order. You cannot allow anybody, Kuki, Maite, Naga, anyone, to create any kind of trouble. So for that, whether it's shoot to sight or whether it's 144 or whether it's curfew, it's absolutely all right. The second point is that you have to get the arms back into state, armories and the Assam Rifles Armory. I'm a little, there have been reports about the Assam Rifles, and if that is really true, it's unfortunate that I haven't had any very strong evidence from my friends who are officials in Manipur or otherwise that Assam Rifles is biased. If it is true, it will be shocking to me. The fourth point which I want to mention is, if you look at the FIRs, how many are against one group, how many are against the other group? If you go to the relief camps, see the number of Maitis, see the number of Kukis, you get a fairly good idea of the kind of crimes, atrocious crimes, atrocities which have been committed from both the sides. I mean, the Imphal itself, there have been many, many incidents, and they have been committed by the Maita youth. Some of them are called a particular name also, and they are marching. So, whether it's cookies or whether it's Maithis, it's happening. So right now, unless you bring a peace in a proper way, for example, CBI, the CBI will do what? It will open up old wounds. Even if you find out that this was the group which did it or this was the group which did it, that will be taken care of by the FIRs. The actual judicial commission is the one which will bring out the entire origin, what has happened and how the thing. So putting in a CBI is not correct. Yes, the third part, which is important, is let the NIA get into the fact to look into what has been the role of militancy. So then we can see whether the SSO were involved or the non-SSO were involved or the other groups which are involved, whether there was a funding from outside. This is the work of the NIA, and that could be a single purpose job which they can do separately. But right now, I think the internet problem shutdown is they are saying that a lot of rumors are being floated on it. So I suppose now, after so many days, I think people are, understanding enough to know where things are happening. And, most of the things is an important thing, which our esteemed journalist said, that many of these incidents are now happening at night. So you need a different kind of, operational plan for this, whether it's by the paramilitary forces, whether it's by the Assam Rifles, and there has to be some kind of an oversight. The security advisor there, Mr. Kuldeep, is a very able man, but these are things which need to be brought before him, that where exactly these things are happening, because I feel as of now that there is some kind of a communication gap which is happening, and one has to close it. The last point which I want to mention is, yes, there is also a voice against the leadership that it appears biased or something. But for the time period, if this is again the point which I was mentioning, you feel that the situation is so bad that you have even closed the internet, then why don't you even tell the leadership to step down and then take over completely to bring complete peace in the valley? Let it be for a month, let it be for 2 months, and let the security advisor and the other people control, and then do that. This will give a kind of a solace to all sides and bring a kind of a, what you call a platform on which to bring together peace talks.
Okay.